really appreciate the positive encouragement that you've given for NELA. And I'm going to ask, and this goes out to the whole panel here, you've all said, again, good, strong things about it. When you think about what we have done from a legislative perspective with the passage of NECA and then the Nuclear Innovation and Modernization Act, now we've got NELA before us. What more needs to be done to really realize this nuclear renaissance that we talk about in again, these almost aspirational type of a reference? Contained within NELA, we have some pretty ambitious goals with the direction to DOE to get the demonstration of 2 reactors by 2025 and the demonstration of at least 2 additional ones by 2035. So the question to you all is what we're doing within this legislation sufficient to demonstrate the representative technologies, the breadth of the innovative advanced reactor concepts? What more do we need to be doing in order to get where I believe all of us are hopeful? And I throw that out to any one of you. Mr. Merrifield, go ahead and push your button.
Senator, thank you very much. I'll take the first crack at that. As I said before, I strongly endorse this bill, and I think this committee in this legislation is doing a significant amount to really move the ball forward. That said, you asked what else could be done. A lot of it results in activities outside of the scope of this committee's jurisdiction, appropriations. You know, the framework that you put into this bill is vitally important. We need to pass it, but we need to provide the funding to allow those demonstration reactors to be built.
That's why it's very important that Senator Alexander is here today.
Very important that Senator Alexander is here. The other thing I think which is important are export tools. Making sure that the EXIM Bank is fully brought up to speed and can use its resources to help in the export of these technologies is vital. The overseas OPIC that has now been reauthorized under the BUILD Act, it's very important that the limitations in that organization that prohibit the use of their funding for U.S. nuclear exports be removed. That is something that Congress really needs to take a look at.
Dr. Peters.
I agree with everything that Jeff alluded to. From an authorization perspective, I think the 3, NECA, NEMA, and now NELA, cover the landscape, as I mentioned. Also, appropriations needs to follow, as Jeff already said. But I would also bring up, I think we've got to go do now. We've got to figure out, okay, so it enables a public-private partnership, but I think there's a lot of details that have to be worked out about what is the role of the government and what is the role of the private sector. And that's not necessarily, you've laid the authorization framework for that. I think now the agency, the department, the labs, and the industry now need to go figure out what that looks like. And also going and establishing the infrastructure to actually create the feedstock for high-assay low-enriched uranium and actually fabricate fuel. So I would say you've done your job. Now appropriations follows, and now the community needs to come together and go do it.
Let me ask you, Dr. Peters, your national lab is working with Department of, or helping Department of Energy work with DOD on the potential microreactor applications for military installations. This is something that we're looking at with great interest. Can you give me a little bit of update? How is this joint DOE-DOD program going, and is there anything that we can do outside of passing NELA that would perhaps strengthen this partnership?
Yeah, so DOE and DOD are actively communicating. DOE has appropriations from energy and water to work in the microreactor space, and so that's being leveraged to work with DOD. I would say that it's working. DOD had gone out with a request for information. That's followed with an RFP. There's multiple companies that have expressed interest and are pursuing it. My lab and a couple other labs are actively involved with the proper controls and NDAs in place, working with a lot of those players. And every company that's pursuing the opportunity doesn't need the same thing. Some need technical support, some need a site, some need fuel. So we're basically opening up our doors to whatever they need. But I would say it's moving along well. It always goes back to appropriations,
right,
on the DOD side as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Let me turn to Senator Manchin.